cover it back up, hopefully nobody notices, and they scrape off the protection, this epoxy, and then it's more likely to rust. There is what's called cathodic protection of these pipelines too, which is where they run a current through the pipe and it keeps it from rusting. And so, you know, they do watch corrosion fairly carefully, and they do have some fairly good technology to keep it from corroding, but that doesn't mean it doesn't corrode. It also doesn't mean that the technology may not fail. It also doesn't mean that people may not make mistakes, either in the construction of the pipeline or in ongoing maintenance. They have to replace these protection systems periodically. And, you know, nothing lasts forever. You know, nothing lasts forever. And, you know, TransCanada will say, you know, we want to make a pipeline that won't leak. And, yeah, they don't really want leaks, and I believe them. They don't really want leaks. And, you know, they want to make a perfect pipeline. And, you know, we can give them the benefit of the doubt and believe that they want to make a perfect pipeline. I'm also sure they won't make a perfect pipeline because they're not God. You know, they don't make perfection. There will be errors, there will be problems, there will be substandard work in places. It will not be perfect. And it's those situations, that imperfection, that we need to have all these emergency planning, you know, put into place. And it's that human element that goes into this pipeline that we need to be prepared for. And that's where citizen involvement is really important, because, you know, it's not for when everything goes perfect that we need to have the rules and the protections in place. It's for when inevitable human failure causes problems that will hurt other people. We need to be prepared for that.
We'll take one more question from the audience, and we have a brief question on here, and then we'll wrap it up because our time is almost through.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what's the underlying motivation. If they have an overcapacity already, what is the driving force behind this pipeline? Why do they want to build it?
I don't know if anyone has
Ernie?
TransCanada is a transportation company. In Canada, they have a lot of pipelines carrying natural gas and propane, and that has been their business for the last 100 years, transporting products. And that's all they want to do is build this pipeline and then transport, just like some big trucking company or bus line company gets paid for hauling people. They're going to make their money off of the oil that goes through it, and they won't have a hand in that. But it's transportation and greed. That's all it is.
Well, they don't plan to. There's no behind the scenes. We don't have something else up their sleeve that they want to put something else in that pipeline.
Oh, they could put water in it.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of that.
The pipe is built to standards to handle either water or crude oil, but they'd have to reconfigure it to handle natural gas. And there has been a rumor that they want to pump natural gas from Alaska to Texas, and that this pipe would be in line for that.
As I mentioned earlier, TransCanada, the federal law gives TransCanada a profit even if they only use a relatively modest amount or small amount. They essentially up the shipping rate. So if the normal shipping rate is $4 for a certain segment, it might be $4 per barrel, you know, to ship it from one point to another. Well, if half as many people use the pipeline, half as much oil flows through it, they'll double that rate to $8 a barrel. So TransCanada, because of the federal law, even if it's not used as much as they want it to be used, will still make the profit that the law guarantees them. So, you know, I mean, there's no downside. If they build it, they'll make money on it, even if it isn't really needed, even if it's kind of, you know, even if it's just redundant, they'll still make money on it. And different utility structures are that way too. If you can build it, you can make money on it because of the way the laws are set up. Now, you know, there's a lot of other possible reasons from a national security point of view why they want to build it. What happens if there's a conflict with Venezuela, with Hugo Chavez? Well, if that's a significant amount of U.S. oil production, if they've got a pipeline from Canada that can, you know, replace that oil supply, that increases the U.S.'s flexibility, call it that, in responding to a problem with you know, Venezuela. And in terms of where the oil goes, you know, maybe some of it will go to China, maybe not. The oil is owned by the companies, the refiner, the people that ship it down to the Gulf Coast. You know, maybe the Chinese will get some of it, but if there's ever a conflict, you know, in international relations, you know, possession is probably 99% of the law. If that oil is on your territory, you know, guess what? You know, you're going to keep it. So I think that some of the folks might say, well, we'll sell some of it to China until such time that we get into a conflict with China, or we don't really want to get it to China, and then we'll just sort of force Canada to have us get it. Who knows? When you get into conflicts over oil in the future, they could be quite significant and severe conflicts. People are going to play hardball, and this oil will go with whoever's got the the most power to get it. And if it's going through the U.S., the biggest oil consumer in the world, I think it'd be kind of hard for the Chinese to force it to go to China if the U.S. doesn't want it to go there. So, it's just important to realize that power plays a big role in where oil goes, where oil flows.
We'll close with this question, and then we have just a few things to close with on some actions that folks can take. So I promised I would get this one out because he's actually on vacation watching this online. And so his name's Russ, and he heads up actually a prairie research site in Crete, Nebraska. He says he's heard rumors that if the pipeline can't get approved through the U.S., TransCanada plans on transporting the tar sands oil to the east coast of Canada, load it onto ocean tankers, and then ship it to Texas refineries. Is there any truth to this rumor?
Please shot at it. There is a pipeline that runs west from, I think, Minnesota through the UP, and then across Canada to, I believe, Montreal, then from Montreal down to Portland, Oregon. And I believe the pipeline from Montreal to Portland, Oregon is 16-inch pipeline, so it's not real big.
You went the other direction. You went west. Portland,
Portland to Maine. Portland, Maine. And I believe that pipeline's a 16-inch pipeline. So it was originally built to provide oil to Montreal during World War II. It's quite old, and so in theory they could put oil out to the East Coast. But I'm not. There's been trade press has been up and down about whether that would actually happen or not. But it's possible for them to do it. It wouldn't be anywhere near the same amount of oil as coming through the Keystone XL pipeline, because it's only a relatively small pipeline at a lower pressure. But it's theoretically possible for that to happen. They also want to build pipelines, like I said, to go, through Canada, First Nation territory especially, up across to British Columbia and over to, and then export to China that way. And that would be a lot more, that would be cheaper and faster to get it to China out through, that part of Canada than coming through the U.S.
Folks that are in the room, the panelists will be here so you can continue to ask questions, but we are out of time because we kind of lose our satellite feed here pretty soon. So wanted to make sure that we first thank the staff of Bold, Nebraska, who have been organizing this event and getting all the details together. Thank our national sponsor, which was the National Wildlife Federation. We had lots of Nebraska sponsors, which are also listed on the Bold, Nebraska website, but are listed here as well. We also want to make sure that you tell folks to sign the petition. We have a petition going. We have almost 300 folks who've signed it. It's tinyurl.com/protect Nebraska. We are going to deliver that petition to our federal members of Congress as well as Governor Heineman with yard signs. We're going to deliver the petition signatures with yard signs, which is why we were asking folks to sign your name to some yard signs as you leave. To really encourage them and to keep the pressure on them to make sure that we can stop this pipeline. We don't have any yard signs here for you to take home, but we do have available at the Bold, Nebraska office starting on Friday. They're free. Come by and take one. We have some bumper stickers out there too, because we just think it's important to keep the public engaged on this issue. And again, we have all of these resources listed on the Bold, Nebraska website. And in closing, I just want to say that, our elected leaders get elected by two things: money and votes. And we may not have deep pockets in this room, but we have our votes and we have our voices. And I think it's really important that we use our voices to stop this pipeline, because it is not good for our land, it's not good for our water, and it's not good for our economic activity of our state. So thank you for coming. We appreciate everybody's participation, and the panel will be here to answer any other questions that you guys might have. Thank you.